have an esteemed guest today. Brienne, how are you doing?
I'm great, Lawrence. It's St. Patty's Day. It's a nice day. I'm looking forward to the sunshine and good things to come. Lots of good things going on in our city.
Brienne is I think is the executive director. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Of Startup Sioux Falls / Zeal, because it's kind of morphing out of Zeal, right? Have you guys completely morphed yet?
I feel like we're almost through this transformation. It's taken a while. We're just like butterflies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a transition. I've been following Zeal for some time now, and it's been trying to find its footing. Lots of interesting changes that have happened over the years.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn a little bit about that today. But it's important to know where we're going to and where we are now. So, Brienne, I'm going to start off with a question about you, because I think, it's nice to know who we're talking to. Can you give us an elevator speech about who you are, where you came from, talk about all of the midgets that you take care of,
So I would call myself a Sioux Falls native. I moved here in 3rd grade. I graduated high school in Sioux Falls, so I'm a Washington warrior, always will be. And then after high school, I went up to the cities for a few years. I went to college at St. Cloud State. I started my career at Sesame Street Live in Minneapolis. So I got to work with Big Bird in the Sesame Street network, which was really, really fun. But my heart has always been in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls has always felt like home. I've always seen so much potential for this beautiful community. And for me to come back and give back and help this city grow and flourish has been just a dream for me personally. So I moved back. I worked for a couple of startup organizations, one of which was a website development agency that I worked for back in about 2005, when websites were still kind of a newish thing for the country. And I enjoyed that experience, but I think my heart has always really truly been in community development and public service. So when I was able to take over as marketing director for Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society, helping to run the largest jazz and blues festival in the region, that's really when my wings started to expand, and I knew I was on the right path. So worked for them for about 3 years, and then got what I considered to be my dream job at Downtown Sioux Falls Inc. DTSF to help bolster the downtown community of Sioux Falls. So I had that opportunity for about 8 years. And during that time, I started to get more in tune to what was happening with the startup community, the entrepreneurial community, the small business culture of the city, which really the heart of that is in downtown Sioux Falls. So saw a job opening at the Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship, and of course counted myself out because I'm not an entrepreneur. So what business do I have helping entrepreneurs start businesses? And I had a friend of mine pull me aside and say, why aren't you applying for this? That's all you've been doing for the past 8 years is lifting up entrepreneurs in the downtown community. We would love to have you apply for this position. And lo and behold, here I am, been in this role as executive director of what is now known as Startup Sioux Falls for 3 years. And it has been a ride, and a pandemic in the middle, which I will tell you has given us a lot of clarity as an organization and as an entrepreneurial ecosystem to truly see what the needs are for today's entrepreneur and how connected we are digitally, but yet we still need that community aspect. So that's really what we're focused on here into the future. So that's my high level bio. I have a family. I'm married to my wonderful husband, Brian, who I've been married to for almost 8 years. And we have a 4-year-old daughter who is the light of our lives. Her name is Pearl.
Oh,
So,
excellent, excellent. You know, it's interesting. We're going to talk about now Zeal and its transformation. But one of the things you mentioned was the pandemic and how it has affected business, and that might be something we might want to at least briefly cover. And I remember recently I heard someone talk about the pandemic in terms of brain transformation. You know, it's a neuroscience kind of discussion. And they were saying that they thought that at some point we will see a reflection of the virus in a lowering of dementia, because they said the virus forced us to engage in the plasticity of our brains because we had to do everything different. And they're projecting and expecting at some point, you know, like 5, 10, maybe 20 years, we may see some kind of blip. You know how like when all the lights go off, you know, like if it's a blackout for like a couple of weeks, and then you wait 9 months, and then there's more babies, you know, so they're expecting a dip in dementia.
there's definitely going to be more babies, I hear.
Yeah.
COVID babies are a thing.
That could be a thing. But I say that, I brought it up because I'm wondering if businesses won't have some kind of, maybe not a decrease in dementia, but seeing some kind of ripple effect from it, not just what's happening now, but a ripple effect
Absolutely.
in the business climate, in not just the country in general, but Sioux Falls specifically.
It's interesting because the greatest innovations of our time have come out of recessions, and times of struggle, because that's when people truly innovate, because you need to. So back in 2008, good examples would be, you know, Lyft and Uber came to the forefront, as well as Airbnb. You know, so I'm thinking about what are those next iterations of innovation that are going to come out of the pandemic era. I don't know what we're going to end up calling it in the end, but that's what I'm truly excited to see come to fruition. And for our, you know, every corner of the globe has been affected by this I don't want to call it a phenomenon, it's a, you know, a pandemic. And I'm just curious to see, yeah, what innovations will come out of our area of the world. We're very focused on ag and fintech, biotech. So we've got a company that's working on a therapeutic for COVID specifically. And I think that's truly what we're trying to do as an entrepreneurial ecosystem, is create that fertile ground in that community to inspire and support opportunities, you know, and new ideas to arise, you know, through the ashes of something difficult. And I'll tell you, I've never been more impressed with the grit and determination of our entrepreneurial community than I was during the pandemic, watching businesses innovate and, using the word that everybody has overused, but pivot, and really embrace technology, has been really inspiring to watch. And something that I personally feel is true. Our entrepreneurial ecosystem has, I think over time, I think people have identified entrepreneurs with tech and biotech businesses. And for me, all industries have a place at the table in our startup ecosystem. And I also feel like most industries and most businesses are tech businesses, because that's where we're at in the age of technology and society. If you don't have a tech element or presence to your business, you're probably not doing it right. So there's a lot of opportunity on the table, Lawrence, and we're excited to explore that more.
Excellent, excellent. I hope we'll have that'll come back up. But let's talk a little bit about the transition, the history, present, and the future of Startup Sioux Falls?
You bet. So this organization was originally known as the South Dakota Technology and Business Center, the SDTBC. I hate acronyms, and I'm glad that that's gone. But I will tell you, I am so impressed by the foresight of our city leaders to come together to say we need to invest in tech and innovation in our city back when it maybe wasn't as popular and maybe was a little bit risky, which is kind of part of the entrepreneurial mindset, right? Like you've got to be a little bit risk averse and put yourselves out there to make true change happen in your community. So 20 years ago, it was an effort of the Chamber of Commerce, and I believe the Development Foundation Forwards, I don't think Forward Sioux Falls, and some investments by the state, some grants. You know, it truly was a community effort to bring this facility together. So it has been located, the physical location has been on the Southeast Tech campus on the northwest side of Sioux Falls. And I think there was some vision there to say that it, you know, of course we want to be connected to a technical college, which that's what it was known as at the time, and that they were going to kind of build out this innovation park around it. As we all know, you know, things change, and the needs of the entrepreneurs have certainly changed over the last 20 years. So there's certainly been an evolution with this organization, but the facility and the folks that have run this organization over time have done some incredible work. And I'll tell you, some of the notable businesses that have spun out of our incubation facility are DocuTap, which was recently acquired by Xperity. So they have a huge presence in our downtown community. Meta Payment Systems is another notable business that has spun out of our facility. Lots of biotech, you know, labs. We have lab space, which is, you know, comes at a premium here in our city. There's not a lot of it. So we're really proud of those efforts as well. So fast forward to about 2016, the organization was awarded an EDA grant, which got us a 7,000 square foot addition in the front of the facility to add to the space, which is now 45,000 square feet. But we wanted to include that element of co-working, which was coming to the forefront, and wanted to rebrand the organization from a tech business center into a center for entrepreneurship. That was the buzzword at the time. You know, Shark Tank is coming on TV. People are talking about entrepreneurship, trying to stay with the times, which was important. So trying to develop that critical mass of community and bringing entrepreneurs and you know, like-minded people together to really, you know, interact with one another and ideate. That was the vision behind, you know, the rebrand and the expansion of the facility. And then we fast forward to 2019. I come onto the organization after my predecessor, Rich Nazer, had led the organization for the bulk of the 20 years. And clearly the things have shifted and the needs have shifted. Everyone has access to high-speed internet in their homes, in coffee shops. We're competing with Josiah's and Queen City Bakery. And our co-working area just isn't very vibrant, you know, because there are so many other options. And the location doesn't necessarily bode well for convenience to just drop in and work. So these were things that I was taking note of as I came onto the organization, as well as just where were the gaps? How are we supporting entrepreneurs? And for us, you know, what we determined is that there really wasn't a mechanism to be able to walk people through the process. Hence the reason why we implemented an accelerator program through a company we called Co-Starters out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, which has just proven successful. We did our market research. Bringing that program on was a huge shift and win for the organization, because now we have this pipeline to create more critical mass and build up a community of people that need support. So it's a 10-week program. We added an element of mentorship to that program. So we're able to engage the greater business community who wants to give back and help these entrepreneurs. And just giving them the tools that they need to further acclimate themselves to the business community and what it takes to run a business. So as that's happening, the pandemic is hitting as well. And we just start to realize that physical space is a little bit reimagined. A lot of people are more comfortable working remote or can work remote. We're just a lot more connected digitally. But the thing that I think was the most important lesson that we learned during the pandemic is just that need for physical human connection and making sure that we have a space for people to come and plug in and connect. And that's not to say that they're not going to still go work from their homes or just jump on a Zoom call if needed. There's a great convenience there, and there's a great quality of life that's bubbling up because of this. But we truly are now transforming from an incubation facility that housed 45,000 square feet of office space to less than 6,000 square feet in the heart of the city, where we can truly come together and bring different walks of life together and become a huge community. I'm just really proud of the transformation that's occurred.
Excellent. And I think, can you talk about the projection for the future? That's brought us up to your current plans, and that's useful to know. But do you have a big picture in terms of where you're looking to take Startup Sioux Falls?
Absolutely. I would say, we have 10 years in this new space in downtown Sioux Falls, which is located at 6th and Phillips, across the street from a whole slew of small business entrepreneurs inside of the Jones building. So I think, like, first and foremost, we want to become a part of the greater business and entrepreneurial community in downtown. We want to be a good neighbor. We want to activate that space. And we want to continue to beat the drum of the importance of having co-working elements available in the downtown area, in the city in general, but just having that space available and beating that drum. In 10 years, uh, I'm hopeful that we will continue to build on the momentum that we've started, and that we're going to start to see some more of those unicorn businesses come to light. The MetaBanks, the DocuTaps, whatever that next big thing is, that's what we're looking to find and looking to foster for our community. And along the way, we're looking to support whomever has a dream and that wants to try to make a go of it as an entrepreneur. And some will fail, some will make it, but we want to be able to make that information and that education accessible for all. So that's really my vision for the next 10 years, is to just meet entrepreneurs where they're at and continue to pay attention, to how the communities are shifting and what those needs continue to be, and just be a good steward.
What are some of the kinds of things that you see coming down the pike, or ideas that you might want to implement that would, let's say, expand or be more inclusive, or encourage inclusivity, encourage some people who have been sitting on the sidelines thinking, I can't do that. They have good ideas, but they didn't grow up with let's say, an entrepreneurial family where you talked about business across the dinner table, and they don't even know anybody personally that's in business. And without that, doesn't matter how much business school you go to, if you don't have that kind of support system, people who think that being in business doesn't mean that you've sold out your community or something like that.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you see coming down the line, or would you like to instigate that would facilitate that kind of movement?
So I will tell you that we have momentum going into this area of inclusivity, because we were awarded a $1 million SBA Community Navigators grant back in November. So that particular opportunity is going to help us further understand where those barriers to entry are, and how we modify the program for the needs of these underserved communities across the state. So we'll be working with spoke organizations that already have those relationships with with the communities that are helping to bolster activity, and we're providing them with tools and resources. So one of those tools is going to be this accelerator program. So we're in the process right now of really educating the spoke organizations, getting facilitators trained so that they're ready to go into these communities and help run these programs. And depending on the community, so we're going to be working with new Americans and immigrants, some of which that don't speak English or are just starting to learn English. So to be able to modify the program to meet the needs of those particular folks, I think it's going to be a really interesting educational experience for this organization to help, really expand our offerings and meet entrepreneurs where they're at, and also just spreading the good word of how this process works and who the players are in the community across the state, to see who's out there that's got great ideas that maybe we're missing. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity the next 2 years to dig in. And then, beyond that, I think again, it's about trying to break down those barriers, and those concerns of, well, I only know this one area of business. I'm a good marketer. How do I start a business? And to just take them through the process and connect them with people that have been there, done that. We've got an incredible community of people that are ready to help and willing to help. So that's really what we're looking to do, is just build up that community, continue to diversify the community and the resources, and bring it to as many different people as we possibly can, and letting them know that it's an option for them.
We talked a little bit about art in that, in that arena, how artists somehow don't see themselves as business people, or are not positioning themselves as business people.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that's, how you're experiencing that in and in startup Sioux Falls?
I feel like one of the biggest, the industry that doesn't identify with our offerings the most would be the arts community. And I say that again, because I think a lot of folks that are not, in the world of tech and the traditional business community don't feel like they have a place at the table. And honestly, that's what makes this entrepreneurial community so special and powerful, is bringing all these different walks of life together and different mindsets. That's really when the magic can start to happen. And artists absolutely need to be part of the discussion and at the table and thinking entrepreneurially and innovatively. That's all I just want to help people expand their thought process. And there are, I think there are tech businesses, biotech businesses that only are thinking about the technology, that aren't thinking about the aesthetic and how you share that message. So really, that's kind of the beauty behind this accelerator program, is that we have all these different industries coming together, and in some cases they're becoming co-founders, because they start to realize, I can't do this alone. I need somebody that thinks differently than me to get this thing off the ground. And that, again, I would love to engage more of the arts community in that conversation as well. There's so much potential there.
We talked a little bit about a new direction from the SBA in terms of that granting. Can you explore that a bit with us?
Yeah. So in regard to the SBA grant, we are serving 4 spoke organizations that we've identified, which are Thunder Valley CDC, which is on the Pine Ridge Reservation. We have Dakota Resources, which will be serving all of the rural communities on the east side of the state. We have MB, which will serve women here in the city, as well as LSS, which I mentioned, so New Americans and Immigrants. We're also bringing in some resource providers to help with this process. So we'll be leaning heavily on the SBA, of course, like the SBDC is a part of the discussion. and we'll provide consultations and resources if people want to, apply for loans, and go through that process. That's what they're there for, to help with business planning as well. SCORE and what's the one? I'm going to forget all the names of the acronyms now, but also folks like Think 3D here in Sioux Falls that help with coaching and helping building culture. They're going to be a part of the conversation and part of our resource network, as well as South Dakota Voices for Peace, which are going to help us with some translation services. So this is truly a community effort, and there are opportunities to plug in and be a part of this process. We're always looking to, again, build that deep bench of great mentors. So if anyone is interested in becoming a part of a mentor network, we've got that opportunity on the table, which is a gift that we give to everyone who graduates through the Co-Starters program, including all of these spoke organizations that'll be running them. So I'm excited to see us expand on that offering, as well as, talking during, every session of a Co-Starters cohort has a different topic that you'll discuss. And we oftentimes bring in entrepreneurs and service providers to give their perspective. And again, help these entrepreneurs realize just how many resources are out there in the ecosystem. And truly what Startup Sioux Falls is looking to do is we're kind of that navigator over the top of everything, where we're helping to plug people into the right resources and mapping things out in a way that makes more sense. Because there are a ton of areas, like different ways that you can enter the ecosystem. It's a messy process, and it can be overwhelming and confusing. And that's really what we're trying to do, is make starting a business as easy as possible for someone to navigate, because we are the experts on navigating through that ecosystem with you.
That sounds like a real opportunity to impact the overall culture of Sioux Falls, and
I hope so.
And to steer it in one way or another. Can you give us some examples of how that might materialize, or is it, or already is materializing?
I can give you an example of the power of the mentor network specifically. We had a business go through our Co-Starters program who was connected with a mentor. And I don't think there are any like big expectations of these connections. It's just, kind of just getting to know these businesses through the 10 weeks, and then kind of seeing where they're at in the process and who they might, need to connect with to get to that next step in the process. And this particular business was just struggling with regulations, relevancy. There were a few different issues, and we paired them with this gentleman who connected them with a VC out of Minneapolis, and their company is now valuated at $25 million. And I think that, that is like an extreme example, but it's the power behind utilizing your network. And again, having someone see what you maybe don't see, it's really, really powerful. And again, this process is scary, and you second guess yourself the whole way through, but to have this community rally around you and say, keep going, or here's something that you should consider, and kind of pivot through it, that's how you really make a community grow, in my mind. Like just cheering each other on, leaning on each other, for things that we're one person. We can't possibly know everything about the business ourselves, but it's also expensive to hire a team. So truly, it's this community that's your team to get things off the ground. And that's really what I've seen that has been the most powerful and impactful part of the ecosystem building process.
I'm going to open it up to our other esteemed guest here. So I'm hoping you guys will be thinking of questions or having comments in terms of the business community impacting lots of areas in our society here, not just in Sioux Falls, but across the state, and the potential for even more interaction. So if anyone has something to say, please I think they have that raise your hand thing, if you know how to use it.
Technology.
Yeah, technology. I love this kind of stuff. It really does save a lot of gas,
Mhm.
to
I
move it.
apologize for the feedback on my end too. I'm not sure what it is, but something's rattling.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where the feedback is coming from. It could be coming from you
I'm blaming Zoom. I'll blame the tech company.
I mean, look, if they get it right half of the time, that's 50% more than we had. So yeah, it's anyway, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Lots of things. We talked about the impact a little bit, but what was that?
I don't know.
You didn't step on your dog or anything.
No, I did not.
um, a lot of our investment is and should be in our young people. And, entrepreneurial things, often people start talking about that when a person is like graduated from college, or sometimes in their 40s or 50s. But it just seems like we waste a lot of the period in which the brain is most plastic and has an opportunity to not just have all of these business ideas in the prefrontal cortex or in the logical part of the brain, but to integrate it into the very being. I mean, if look, we have a country, we call ourselves capitalist, but I don't really see that many capitalists around. I see sociopaths, but
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people. I mean, and it's not to say I don't see any, but it's like when I see people talk about who are in business who talk about kill the competition, I'm thinking, do you understand how capitalism works? You get rid of that, you got nothing. But that said, it just seems like there's learning about how to do business, and not just how to make a profit, but the place of business in making a society more usable to all of the members of that society. It seems like we don't have enough of that in the fabric.
Yeah.
Who we are in terms of, so the people who are, to my mind, more feudalist than they are capitalist, those people tend to dominate the discussion about, and also the molding of it. I'm wondering, how do we get more young people right from the lemonade stand to understand to understand what they can contribute as
Yeah.
does that resonate at all?
It does. It definitely does. And it's one of our focuses, most definitely. The entrepreneurship wasn't an option for me. I don't ever recall having a conversation in my time in school about the possibility of entrepreneurship. So hitting them while they're young, and just inspiring more innovation at a younger age is a really impactful thing, and something we need to continue to work on as a community. There are several organizations that do this well. I think about MB and their STEM programming, which is just fantastic, as well as like even the Girl Scouts. If you think about the Girl Scouts, that's really what their foundation is built upon, is entrepreneurship and selling those cookies. So we do have some interaction with those organizations, as well as with the high schools and obviously the university in our surrounding areas. And I guess what I would say is it really does take work to continue to make inroads to keep that communication flowing. And our teachers, like the poor teachers, I don't know if they can handle any more capacity than what they have. So it really does take us going, having a seat at their table and going to these schools and beating that drum. So outreach is something that we're continuing to work on, and finding opportunities for youth to plug into what we do as well. So we have our weekly 1 Million Cups networking event in which we always have a featured speaker who speaks about their entrepreneurial journey, and students and youth are invited to attend those events. And again, I think that's what excites me about moving downtown as well, and as being more accessible and visible. And hopefully we'll be able to connect with more young people. I think they might find hanging out downtown um, exciting and fun. So I look forward to, and again, I have my little girl on my heart as I think about the youth as well. Like, I want her to have more opportunities to really think about what she can do. And entrepreneurship is, I mean, the sky's the limit with entrepreneurship. There's so much you can do with it. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to start your own company either. There's an entrepreneurial mindset that you can adopt that many industries would benefit from as well. So that's something that we also tout. If you're, even if you don't want to start a business, it's still good to inhibit that mindset.
Mhm. Naima has asked if the junior achievement is still a thing.
Junior Achievement is another one. So Kayla Ettram, who's the president of Junior Achievement Sioux Falls, sits on our board of directors, and we've had a lot of interaction with her as well. We've, they have an annual event where we'll host a booth. She's also asked me to come speak to her classrooms, which is maybe the most intimidating talk that I ever give, is to those young people. I never know if they care, or if they think I'm cool, or if what I'm saying is
And they have wild
related.
card questions too, like
Yeah,
what?
exactly. And if you're not on TikTok, they're probably not going to listen to you anyway. So I guess I'm going to need to embrace that medium one of these days.
Well, one of the things that occurs to me, particularly with young people, and let's say putting business as part of the fabric of society, is a lot of business has to do with the ability to negotiate.
Yeah.
And if I were to say that, I can list about 10 things that I think is sorely lacking in schools. And even though I would agree wholeheartedly that teachers are kind of like they're overplayed now. I mean, it's like just, but there's a lot of stuff that's just wasting kids' time too.
Yeah.
Wasting their whole time in school, and they feel it. And that's why a lot of them don't want to go to school, is because
Yeah.
they can feel you're wasting their time. You're not being efficient. You're not
Yep.
finding the most efficient way to teach even the necessary things. Plus, you're teaching stuff that this stuff doesn't matter if you don't know that. And proof of it is, if you gave people the test that you gave them 2 years after they graduate from high school, most of them would fail. So if you're getting along and you fail, you don't remember all that stuff, that's a good indication that it's not a thing,
Absolutely.
So one of the things I think is important is the ability to negotiate. Where do you see a potential on-ramp, or if one, I'd ask if you agree, and then two, where would you see a potential on-ramp for increasing the ability for the average person to negotiate what they want in life, whether it's between you and your kid, or a spouse, or the grocery store, or a business? Negotiation seems to be part and parcel of our ability to negotiate or to move around with each other. Can you speak to that a bit?
I feel like this is going to date me a little bit, but I honestly truly believe that the best way to learn about negotiation and just humanity in general is to work a service job. I worked as a server when I was in high school. I worked at Hy-Vee, and I feel like there's a lot you can learn just by dealing with people day to day, and having those conversations, and dealing with customer service. I think that can go a long way for an individual. And I also realize, kids are busy, they have lives, and they have activities that they need to partake in. But I truly think there's something, a perspective that you can't get anywhere else other than like going through that traditional customer service channel, whether it's a restaurant, a retail business, something of that nature. I feel like that's shaped me as a human being in a
Yeah.
way that, I feel like I do have a unique perspective.
Yeah. Working in nursing homes, and that works too.
Mhm.
You try to negotiate with somebody who doesn't really want to take that
Oh
shower.
my goodness.
Somebody from the opposite sex, doing it. That's you can learn some interesting negotiation skills
Oh
in
yes.
all kinds of things. But and I think like well, I learned a lot from emergency medical stuff. Just like having to negotiate like on multi levels between the 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 relatives, the patient, the receiving physicians, and all of those people. But I'm thinking more of like when people, how can I say, how do they get the skills, or where would they learn it? Even if they were going to do a service job, that's a place to practice it.
Hmm.
But where's the on ramp for
Yeah.
actually learning? What are the ground rules, and how do I learn to even position myself to learn from that service job?
Yeah. I mean, in the entrepreneurial community, I would say there are several opportunities to pitch. So there are pitch nights, so all of the universities have these opportunities, and I know that many of them have a high school level competition as well. So you can start as early as ninth grade,
What,
and
what
there's
program
something.
was that in high school?
What was that?
What was the program in high school that people do that? Or
So the university pitch competitions actually allow high school students to participate. So like DSU has one, USD, I want to say SDSU, and then the two in town here, USF and Augie. There are opportunities to plug in even if you're not a university student yet. And those are really great opportunities to, yeah, just kind of refine your value prop, your pitch, whatever it is. I mean, even if you're not serious about the business, it helps you with those skills, because if you were to get into a room with a bunch of investors, how would you sell yourself? And how would you present your story? I think those are really great opportunities for young aspiring entrepreneurs or just business people in general, to go through a process like that. So those opportunities do exist here in the community.
Okay. I kind of want to come back to another element of that, but I want to open it up now. Does anyone have any questions that they have for Brent? Anybody? Sometimes people are fishing around for their button to turn on there.
All right.
Well, if you do, just punch turn your mic on if you have a question, and then I will see that you're unmuted and know that you have a question. I want to go back though to a little bit about the negotiation, and I'm kind of banging on it because I think it's fundamental. And I hear what you're saying about the pitch night, and I think certainly I've been to those, and I can see certainly that they have a lot of value. Okay, but that said, they are the place you practice the negotiation skills, and maybe you learn something because you see what other people are doing, so that's a thing. But it just seems like to me, if we're waiting even to high school, and in high school, as you say, they have an opportunity, but it's not woven into the fabric of how you operate every day. So and those things, as you say, like a pitch night is about a business. I have a business idea. Let me explain my business idea, and you get some feedback and some stress put on your idea. All of that's great. But I'm thinking about even something really as basic as negotiating your basic needs relative to the basic needs of other people. And it just seems like to me, in general, we lack the ability to let people know what we want, and just as important, if not more important, to understand what others need and what they actually need as opposed to what they say they,
Right.
it's like
And that's
somebody.
not just the youth. Yeah, that's it. A lot of people have that issue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's the fact that we don't learn it in our youth, that we don't know it when we're
Mhm.
older. So it's not just really a matter of like, well, negotiating, getting a car, for example, if you're buying a car or selling a car, but it's understanding, why does a person want this car? Is
I
it for
feel like you're
transportation?
giving me a really good idea for a workshop, Lawrence.
Yeah.
You wanna facilitate that for me?
Well, we'll talk about it later, but I think, I think it's like understanding, negotiating, and like why it's even important,
Yeah.
and bringing that into starting at kindergarten instead of like getting mad and throwing the brick and hitting Johnny in the head, or like punching somebody out to take their stuff. Where's the training to say, well, what is it that one you need, and then what is it that I need, and how do I give you something for something I want to get,
Hmm.
and how do I understand what you really want, because it may be just self-esteem,
Yeah.
and you may not want more money. What you may want is respect, and if
Mhm.
I give you the respect, you don't really care about the money. that,
It's
that
funny
was
you should
that was
say
one
all
of
of
the
this.
things one of my
Like,
mentors told me is, people don't want money, they want what money can buy.
yeah, I think my daughter's a pretty good negotiator, Lawrence.
There you go.
She's 4, but
And, and
yeah.
like many talents we have when we're like 2 months, we lose by the time we're 20, But
Mhm.
how do we, anyway, I'm looking to explore that.
Yeah. There's a hand up too. I don't know if you wanna.
Oh yeah, Naima.
Yes, in the vein of what you're speaking, this is definitely a lost art of negotiation, definitely. And what about mediation training in regards to all of that as well? Because if you put the two together, then you come up with a Stephen Coventry kind of a win-win.
Mhm.
Just my thought.
Yeah, I would say that mediation is an extension of negotiation.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's kind of another facet of the same 3D object, so to speak. But I feel you. I feel you. Yeah. Anyone else have a comment or question, observation?
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Hi. So I have a question or a couple things. So my name is Crystal Owen, and right now I work for a nonprofit domestic violence program here in Sisseton. We're northeast, straight across from Sioux Falls, right down I-29.
Yep.
Almost, well, to the North Dakota border almost. But so we're a nonprofit organization, and we've been thinking about starting something that's going to help us. The only funding we get is mostly from the state for the work that we do, but we're looking into like some other kind of entrepreneurial ideas for our nonprofit. So it's interesting. We just need to find, like, if you could help me get in touch with some resources, or I don't know if you would be able to help us if we're away on this side of the state. But that, and then I'm also the chairman of our district, and our tribe, Sistan Mapin Oyate, has 7 districts. So Enemy Swim District is one of our largest districts. So I'm the chairman of that district. And right now we're the tribe has given us a grant, like $1.5 million to work on some ideas for business or ways for community development. And so right now, we've got all people saying, well, we need a store, we need this, we need that, we need a museum, we need a cultural. So we're trying to think of something that's going to enhance our community in a good way, on the reservation. So
Awesome.
I was just wondering if you had time for like a recommendation, or maybe even a one-on-one discussion that we could, you could steer me to. That would be very, very helpful.
Absolutely, Crystal. I'm so glad you said something. I'm happy to connect with you after this and talk more. I do think there's probably some synergies with the grant that we just received as well. So if you've got a relationship with Dakota Resources or not, I know we're going to be targeting different areas again at East River, South Dakota through Dakota Resources and the rural programming. So I think there are going to be some great synergies and opportunities there as well, but also the SBA is a great resource. But yeah, I would love to connect with you offline on what we can do to be supportive and help you with resources.
Yeah,
It's
that'd be
fantastic.
awesome.
You can
I
put some
know.
contact information in the chat and people can
Yeah, you bet.
cut and paste.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else have questions or ideas that they would like to explore vis-a-vis entrepreneurism, business community? Yeah, Juan Carlos. You have to turn on your mic. He had his hand up. You have to turn on your mic, that down in the left-hand corner where it says mute, unmute. Oh,
I think that might not be a real person. It's not.
oh, okay. Well, okay, don't unmute.
You might
that.
want to kick them out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's no good.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
been Zoom bombed before. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
Technology.
yeah, that's right. Wonderful. Okay, so anyone else have something that they would like to add or questions that they would have? Okay, so we'll continue. If we look forward to the kinds of things that ordinary people can do to either take advantage of entrepreneurial opportunities or support people who are interested in entrepreneurial opportunities, what are some kind of things that just John Doe, who's maybe even retired and just thinking, well, like, yeah, maybe I could start a business, but really, maybe I want to just help someone else, or I just, what kind of things can people do?
Yep. So first and foremost, sign up to be a mentor. We're always looking to grow that network. And then beyond that, just to kind of talk a little about what we envision for the new space and how you can plug in. We are intending, beyond having our traditional co-working members and hot desk members, to host different types of workshops and think tank style discussions to help perhaps solve some city problems using entrepreneurial mindset and innovation. So there will be opportunities to plug into our community and our space. And we would just, I think the simplest way to get connected with what we're doing and the events that we have available is to go to startupsiouxfalls.com and sign up for our email list or connect with us over social media. We have a Facebook group that has nearly 8,000 people inside of it. It's
Wow.
crazy how many people are connected to this group. And there's a lot of activity and a lot of posts and a lot of discussions happening within that group as well. That said, if you are serious about entrepreneurship and you need a community to plug into, we do have memberships available, and we're calling them founding memberships right now. So we're looking to, build up that base before we move into the new space. And we're helping connect those folks through different channels. We have a private Slack channel for them to kind of, congregate with each other, kind of a mini mastermind, if you will. And then just finding opportunities to sit down and plug in with those folks to again, hear more about what their needs are and what kind of connections they need. to help us again shape the next iteration of what this entrepreneurial community looks like and how it operates. So there's a lot of potential on the horizon here. And we know that there are folks like people are reaching out to me outside of this community asking how they can plug in and help, which is really exciting. We're part of something bigger than just Sioux Falls. You know, that's the way I look at it as well. And a lot of industries are looking to us as well for innovative ideas to help bolster the workforce to some degree. You know, having a vibrant entrepreneurial community does a lot of good for a city, beyond just helping spin out businesses, which is of course at the core of what we're trying to do is, you know, to create new industry and innovate and disrupt, but also to bolster more people into the city, you know, because they can see that we have this vibrant community of entrepreneurs that are doing innovative and exciting things. People want to be a part of a vibrant community of that nature. So lots of ways that you can plug in, but I think it starts with just being aware of our organization and what we're doing, and plugging into those opportunities.
This has been a very interesting and informative conversation for me. I'm glad
Good.
that you've been able to join us and share what what you guys are involved in. You talked a little bit about, you know, people supporting you. If someone wanted to be one of these founding members or something like that, what's involved with that?
Yeah, so you can find information on our website. And basically what a founding member is you're paying up front to be a part of this the kind of elite group of folks that are coming in from the beginning. And there will be some sort of recognition of these founders in our new space once we get to that point in the process. You also get to be along for the journey as well. So we're planning on having hard hat tours. So you get to be a part of the experience of building up this space and being, you know, having a voice at the table of what we think it needs to be. So those are a few things, but like, you know, specifically to support those founders that are coming in, we also are going to be offering some perks and discounts. So folks that, you know, currently are working out of coffee shops, we want to be able to, you know, take the burden off of your coffee bills, and have those, you know, relationships with the folks that are supporting our entrepreneurial community today. And again, you'll be a part of this this really unique community of people. We'll give you exclusive invitations to our pre-launch celebration that will be coming about. We'll be having, you know, more benefits are coming as we move along here, but more membership benefits until the space opens. And then obviously when the space does come online and available, then you can choose between, you know, different levels of membership as to how you want to utilize and access our space.
Okay.
So all of that is available on the website.
Sorry to cut you off, but we're getting bombed. So
we are getting bombed.
Yeah. So we're going to end our discussion. I hope. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see everyone else and everyone next week, same time, same station. Okay. Bye, and we'll still talk to you.
Yeah.